Welcome to our Bible Story series. Today, we will journey through Genesis chapter 11, where we discover the story of the Tower of Babel and learn how human pride led to confusion, while God's perfect plan continued through the family of Abram. Let's begin. After the great flood, Noah's descendants multiplied and spread across the earth. At that time, everyone spoke the same language and understood one another perfectly. As people traveled eastward, they found a wide plain in the land of Shinar. It was fertile and suitable for building a great city. Instead of obeying God's command to fill the whole earth, they chose to stay together. They said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." Using big bricks instead of stone and tar for mortar, they began building a magnificent city, the Tower of Pride. The people had an ambitious dream. They said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Their goal was not to honor God. They wanted fame, power, and security without depending on Him. The tower became a symbol of human pride and self-reliance. God sees their hearts. Nothing escapes God's notice. The Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. God knew that united in rebellion, humanity would continue moving farther away from Him. So the Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them." This was not because God feared human success, but because He lovingly stopped their rebellion before it led to even greater sin. God acted with wisdom. He confused their language so they could no longer understand one another. Builders could no longer communicate. Workers gave different instructions. Plans became impossible to complete. Construction stopped. The great tower remained unfinished. People who spoke the same language gathered together and moved to different regions of the earth. In this way, God scattered the nations across the world, just as He had intended from the beginning. The city was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole earth. From many nations to one family. After telling how the nations were scattered, the Bible shifts its focus to one family. Genesis records the descendants of Shem, one of Noah's sons. Generation after generation passed. Shem, Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Ru, Serug, Nahor, and finally Terah. Terah had 3 sons, Nahor and Haran. Haran became the father of Lot, but died while the family still lived in Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram married Sarai, and Nahor married Milcah. The Bible tells us that Sarai had no children because she was barren. Later, Terah took Abram, Sarai, and Lot and set up toward the land of Canaan. However, they stopped and settled in where Terah lived until his death at the age of 205 years. God was preparing Abram for an extraordinary journey that would begin in the next chapter. Lessons from Genesis chapter 11. When people seek glory for themselves instead of honoring God, they move away from His purpose. No human plan can stop God's will. Even when people rebel, God continues to accomplish His perfect purposes. God wanted humanity to fill the earth. His instructions are always for our good. God has a plan of salvation. While Babel shows humanity's rebellion, the genealogy points us toward Abram, through whom God would bless all nations and ultimately bring Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face